1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south. Don't ask me where that came from. It just happened. Hi. From time to time, because of my allergies, I gurgle. Let's start over, shall we? North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. That's not news. Commentary is opinion. It's not news. Commentary, opinion, not news. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It's what we do here on the Wells Report. There wasn't a lot of debating going on. There was an awful lot of arguing going on yesterday when Tony Bobulinski and another person, not Hunter Biden, got together in the U.S. House of Representatives and ended up in a situation whereby, they started talking about Hunter's business dealings. Hunter Biden, the president's son, was indeed not there, but other people were. One of them was Tony Bobulinski, who got into it with AOC. Check this out.
Did you witness the president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it?
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir? Specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption statutes.
Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category of crimes that you're then charged
You
under
have charges.
a long 100
You
list
have
of
charges. Sir, please
Want me to name the exact statute under RICO?
Yes.
Well, it's funny. In this committee room, everyone's not here. There's over 18
All right, sir. I reclaim my
lawyers
time.
that went to law school.
I reclaim my time as soon as as soon as Tony Bobulinski started to nail her down on something, she reclaimed her time. Well, there was more. And indeed, Tony Bobulinski sort of kind of showed up loaded for bear for that hearing. I mean, he was jumping all over Hunter Biden. He was jumping all over the Democrat politicians, and he did so with regards to a question that led him into kind of a diatribe when it came to a guy named Ro Khanna, who is one of the congressmen from California. And so Byron Donalds was talking to him and asking him a question. And Byron Donalds said, asked something about how to get through a WhatsApp text, et cetera, et cetera. And Tony Bobulinski started griping about the fact that Ro Khanna had asked him for specific information in an effort to try to get to the bottom of all of this. And then what ended up happening was that when Ro Khanna was sitting in front of Tony Bobulinski, he decided to scurry out of the room. Now, why he decided to do that is purely political. He didn't want to be associated with the hearing. He didn't want to be associated with Tony Bobulinski because, indeed, he had previous dealings with Tony Bobulinski that were, as far as I know, completely honorable. But then Bobulinski got very, very angry about all that. and decided that he was going to take a shot at Ro Khanna. And we're going to have that for you here in just a moment. Let's see here. Is that who I think? Yes, it is. Okay. Our telephone number, by the way, is 817-379-2172. There's a guy from British Columbia that keeps calling me on the phone and screaming at the top of his lungs, Trump supporter. I thought maybe what I would do is I would go ahead and call him back on his telephone and say socialism supporter and take a shot at Justin Trudeau. But I'm not going to do that insofar as, it's just not the right thing to do because children are children, and that's the way things are. 817-379-2172 is our telephone number. As soon as he gets bored playing silly, stupid games, then we'll go ahead and move on with the adults in the room. Let's see here. Let me get this worked out. Yeah, this is a new annoying problem that has been hassling me here for a while. And once I get this thing started, we don't have any problems with any of this. But for whatever reason, we're having problems with it now. Anyway, this whole thing was very instructive from a standpoint of just exactly what these people were up to and what they were trying to get done. The Oversight Committee indeed is working to try to put all these pieces together. And there are some very interesting conversations. Let me see what I can do about playing this. Yeah, here we go. Let me see if I can play this thing this time. See if it doesn't, if it's going to cooperate. Let's hope it does. And we'll bring this to you. This would be the comment by Bobulinski regarding Congressman Ro Khanna of California. Here is what he had to say.
And I want to start with a text message, July 31, WhatsApp text message between Hunter Biden and one Mr. Zhao. Real quick, Mr. Bobulinski, who is Mr. Zhao?
Congressman Donalds, I'd just actually like to spend 20 seconds. If you noticed, Congressman Khanna scurried out of here very quickly. And I'm actually disgusted as I sit here that he didn't address me based on the fact that I'm sitting here in front of the world trying to testify to the truth. In October 2020, I have messages I'm willing to produce to both the Democrats and the Republicans that Ro Khanna sent to me saying, you have always demonstrated to me that you're nothing but an honest with the highest integrity individual. And I was begging for him to go on CNN and tell the world in October 2020. I have extensive emails with Congressman Ro Khanna in 2021 and 2022, where I begged him and his staff to sit down with me and look at my BlackBerry phones that the Democrats are so focused on, to hire forensics experts and go through all of the factual information I had. So the fact that he did not even address me and then scurried out of here is disgusting to me.
Yeah, and it was disgusting to a lot of people because, once again, Democrats are not just in a position where it's hard to explain what the president has done, not based on pure rhetoric or politics or what have you. There are bank records. And the family has not explained those bank records. And there is a powerful witness in Bobulinski who is putting it all out there, talking about RICO, talking about conspiracy, talking about all of these things. And so when you don't have a case, you bluster. And if blustering doesn't work, then what you end up doing is trying to confuse everything or rush the opponent's legal case. Jared Moskowitz is a Florida congressman, and that is exactly what he tried to do with the committee yesterday during the hearing.
Let's just do the impeachment. I mean, why continue to waste millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money if we're going to impeach because you believe you've shown he's committed a high crime and misdemeanor? What are you waiting on? Let's just do it. I mean, by the way, we got Chairman Jordan here also, the double chairman. Why aren't you guys calling for the vote in your committee? When is it going to happen? When can we tell the American people you're going to stop wasting their money and just call for the vote on impeachment?
Gentlemen, yield.
Sure.
We don't do snap impeachments like you guys. We actually do the facts. We do oversight
So
according to the
you're
Constitution.
never going to call for it. You're never going to call for it. I mean,
you can predict.
months.
You can predict the future. How do you know?
The chairman knows me well. I mean, I'm just here to help him, right? And so I just think we should do it today. Let's just call for it. I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. I want to help you out. You can second it. right? Like, make the motion to impeach President Biden. Go ahead. It's your turn. You second it. No, nothing. Okay, we got nothing. So I want to, with my last couple minutes, show the American people that they're never going to impeach Joe Biden. It's never going to happen because they don't have the evidence.
That's wishful thinking. There is evidence. That it has not been presented yet is a fact of what's going on here is a grand jury hearing. That's what's going on. If you want a civilian or a public analog of what's going on in all of these committee hearings, this is a grand jury. They are collecting evidence. They are collecting witnesses. They are listening to the witness testimony. And they are going to, in a committee, collate all of this and either recommend the impeachment of the president or not. And both of those are on the table. A lot of cynical politicians are saying, of course the Republicans are going to impeach President Biden because Donald Trump got impeached twice. Well, we were right and they were wrong and blah, 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 blah. Are you kidding me? And so the circumstance goes like this. What will end up happening is, and I'll predict the future here, I'm reasonably sure that what will happen is that the clock is going to run out. That this is going to be, we're not going to see an impeachment before the election. We're not going to do that. What this is, and Moskowitz to a degree is correct. What this is part of a campaign to discredit the president. And that's exactly what it is. Now, is it a righteous investigation? Sure. You know how I feel about investigations. If there is a question, there should be an investigation. Now, do I immediately predispose what the results of that investigation will be? No. No, I just wait for those people to do their work. And then I consider the product of their work. And then I make a decision based on that. I think that's what you do. And so what we're seeing is a grand jury proceeding. And the Democrats don't have a lot to fight back with on this except bluster and trying to rush the Republicans into a decision. Now, the committee has to act, which is why Chairman Comer didn't answer, because it's got to come out of a committee first. And rather than get into a parliamentary discussion with Moskowitz, the chairman just sat there and went, "What are you talking about?" Because he knew the procedure was all wrong, and he knew that Moskowitz knew all that. It was a very good rhetorical piece. It was really well done by Moskowitz. I mean, that was really, really smart. I mean, this guy's a good defense lawyer because he's once again trying to confuse the proceedings, trying to rush the prosecution, or in this case, the plaintiff, I suppose. And yeah, that does make sense. But at the end of all of it, what we really need more than anything else is we need facts. And we don't need parliamentary games. And a bunch of the Oversight Committee Democrats showed up wearing Putin masks yesterday. Just exactly what was that all about? Well, just silly. Just plain silly. And I assure you that regardless of whether you believe Biden is guilty or innocent, what we really have to do is find out one way or another. And this is the process. And it's getting gummed up by politicians. And as we know, politics poisons everything. And I mean everything. All we need to know is whether or not there was influence peddled, bribery schemes enacted. That's what we need to know. And all of this could go away very simply if Hunter Biden would testify after making a big show of saying, "I'm only going to testify in public." Well, he gets a chance and then he says no, which belies the whole garbage at the beginning of all of this. So why Hunter Biden isn't facing contempt of Congress charges for defying a subpoena, I don't have any idea. Except, of course, that gets back to what Moskowitz is talking about, that Republicans are gutless. And they won't do it. Or maybe they will. Who knows? It's politics, and thus garbage. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. And so the state of Texas decided to empower their police to arrest illegal immigrants. It was called SB 4. It was sued against and set aside, and it was appealed, and then it was resurrected, and then it was sent back to a lower court, and then it was denied or stayed. And the games keep getting played when it comes to the Texas-Mexico border. There's some great people that are taking a look at this. This is from Dallas's Fox 4 station, as Dan Godwin tells us a little bit more about this story as it unfolds.
Well, Lauren,
As Brandon alluded to, this latest order from the Supreme Court is not going to be the last of the battle over this Texas law, but opponents are savoring what is at least a temporary victory for them. On Monday, the nation's highest court extended a stay against SB 4 indefinitely. The order from Justice Samuel Alito means the controversial law cannot go into effect while legal challenges to it make their way through the court system. SB 4 allows any law enforcement officer in the state to arrest anyone suspected of entering the country illegally. They would then go before a judge to face the possibility of jail time here or be given the option to return to a border crossing. The state representative who carried SB 4 in the Texas House is confident the law will eventually be upheld.
I think it'll create change, and it will act as a deterrent to illegal immigration. We're not against immigration. We're only against illegal immigration. SB 4 only addresses illegal immigration. It's badly needed.
And we applaud the Supreme Court of the United States for blocking this law, which we knew that was discriminatory, was unconstitutional.
Opponents of SB 4, like Mesquite Representative Victoria Niave Criado, say it mirrors an Arizona law known as the Show Me Your Papers law, the heart of which was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court as unconstitutional. Supporters of the law believe the nation's high court could be waiting for the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to hear oral arguments on SB 4. That hearing is scheduled for April 3rd. Whatever happens there will be appealed again, bringing the whole case back to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Dan Godwin talking to us from Fox 4 here in Dallas. Got it. He nailed it. He nailed the story. That is exactly what's going on, and it's nuts. And the Austin American-Statesman talks about it this way. After the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rescinded its order to allow enforcement of Senate Bill 4, a Texas immigration law authorizing state and local law enforcement officials to detain, arrest, even deport people suspected of entering Texas from Mexico without legal authorization. It took no action on the constitutional challenges to the law during a hearing yesterday, leaving the measure on hold. The impromptu hearing was announced yesterday after dueling court opinions on whether SB 4 should take effect. Civil lawsuits challenging the law's standing are being settled in court. The U.S. Supreme Court removed a temporary hold on the law, saying that SB 4 could go forward. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals immediately said, nope, we're going to keep looking at this, and so on. The legislature in November passed SB 4 to codify a series of penalties for anyone suspected of crossing into the U.S. in Texas other than through an international port of entry. The penalties range from a Class B misdemeanor to a second-degree felony. The law allows state police to arrest migrants suspected of entering the U.S. illegally and force them to accept a magistrate judge deportation order or face stiffer criminal penalties for noncompliance. Now, obviously, something has to be done. And, of course, they're trying to figure out whether or not the states have the capability of being able to defend their own border. I live in Texas. It's a border state. We've been overrun for decades. So, yeah, I think we ought to protect our own border. What I think we ought to do is, in the fine compromise that would be between federal and state, would be for the states to own the borders between the international ports of entry. The international ports of entry would be owned by the federal government. That is a fine compromise, and that's exactly what's probably going to end up happening. And when that happens, then these states will have the option of closing their own borders, which is sorely needed as far as I'm concerned. This is the Wells Report.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. Today is March 21st. It's Thursday, year of our Lord, 2024. I believe this is the first day of spring. Yeah, first day of spring. Well, that was a tough winter. It actually got cold in North Texas for 4 entire days. My God, we almost froze to death here. Temperature got all the way down to 0 once. It is the Wells Report. So we've been watching something that is kind of disturbing, and we've been reporting on it on this broadcast, and that is that according to Customs and Bureau Enforcement, we have Customs and Border Enforcement, we have somewhere around 400,000 Chinese nationals living illegally in the United States. They are single, they are male, they are military age. And a lot of us are trying to figure out what they're doing here. I mean, there are only so many things that people that are theoretically trying to evade a totalitarian government or bad times or persecution, etc. There are only so many things they can do. And so what are they here for? And many of us naturally think about the national security implications of all that. And so we're saying military age males, nothing to do, being able to get across the border as they see fit, kind of adds up to a really ugly equation. Well, it got a little uglier today. This is not something that you're going to find on your front page at your favorite American newspaper site. I went to 2 offshore news sites to find this story. First, from the London Daily Mail. Taiwan now admits that U.S. troops are stationed on islands off the coast of China amid fears the region will spark World War III. Taiwan Defense Minister Chiu Kao-cheng appeared to admit that U.S. Special Forces are training the Taiwanese military for a potential conflict. If correct, U.S. troops would be stationed on coastal islands far closer to the mainland China than to Taiwan in an escalation of America's presence in the region. Chinese President Xi Jinping has repeatedly said he intends to reunify Taiwan with China, while the U.S. has vowed support for Taiwan in any potential invasion scenario. Here's the story. Taiwan's defense minister appeared to accidentally admit that the U.S. U.S. troops have been stationed off the coast of China. That would be a startling escalation of hostilities. It is believed that if the defense chief, Chiu Kao-cheng, was correct, then U.S. military would be there in some sort of role, ostensibly to train Taiwan forces on the small islands close to mainland China, including Kinmen Island. If U.S. troops are stationed on Kinmen, would mark a dramatic increase in America's presence in the region. Kinmen Island is over 100 miles from Taiwan's main island, but just 3 miles from the China coastal city of Xiamen. The apparent admission comes after a report by SOFREP that claimed U.S. Special Forces have already been deployed to the coastal islands, with it previously believed that limited troops were only deployed to Taiwan. This exchange is for mutual observation to identify the problems we have, figure out how to improve, and recognize their strengths so we can learn from them, Chiu said, in a response to a question on the subject. In other words, study your enemy. Know your enemy, know yourself, and you'll never lose a battle. Sun Tzu. The U.S. has consistently said it would support Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. Chinese President Xi reportedly warned President Biden that he intended to carry out when they held that's a plan that he plans to carry out when they held a landmark summit in San Francisco last year. When asked by the Wall Street Journal this week to clarify Chiu's remarks, a Pentagon spokesman said he would not comment on specific operations. Quote, "Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region," said Pentagon spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Marty Miners. Coastal islands such as Kinmen are scarcely populated and are primarily where most of Taiwan's amphibious forces are positioned, which may now be bolstered by U.S. Special Forces. Without international support, experts believe Taiwan would have little ability to combat the Chinese military. That's a factor that Chiu alluded to. The defense minister said the U.S. troops stationed on the coastal islands are required because Taiwan's military may have some blind spots or shortcomings. It's not clear how long U.S. special forces have been deployed to the coastal islands. In 2021, China reacted with fury following reports the U.S. special forces had already been training in Taiwan for over a year. While there, they've been focused on strengthening Taiwan's near or rear security, focused on preventing sabotage and enemy infiltration, according to the military think tank INDSR and the expert Su Xiu-yun, cited by the Wall Street Journal. This is an escalation. It is significant. U.S. troops close to the Chinese mainland, well, that's provocative. What will China do? Probably not much. Probably not much. And so what is going on with regards to other aspects of the Taiwan situation? From Agence France-Presse, that's AFP News, Taiwan's defense ministry said that 32 Chinese military aircraft were detected around the island in a 24-hour window. That's the second highest number this year. In the 24 hours leading up to 6 a.m. Thursday, that's 2200 GMT. The Ministry of National Defense also detected 5 naval ships operating around Taiwan. 20 of the aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait, it added in a statement. Taiwan's armed forces have monitored the situation and employed patrol aircraft, Navy vessels, coastal missile systems in response to the detected activities. In 2 other 24-hour periods in late January and early February, the ministry detected 33 Chinese warplanes around the island. That's the highest number this year. And it's not something that people are happy about. Those detections followed the January 13th presidential election won by current Vice President Lai Ching-te, who Beijing doesn't have a lot of amenity for. They do not like this guy. Amity, rather. They don't like this guy. And that's probably because he's tough and he stands up to him. Lai and Vice President-elect Sao Bin Kim of the ruling Democrat Progressive Party will take office on May 20th. China's Taiwan Affairs Office on Tuesday slammed Sao over her visit to the Czech Republic, saying it served the purpose of Taiwan independence and is unhelpful for peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Well, this is one of those things where you got to be really serious and you got to start thinking about just exactly why China hasn't overwhelmed Taiwan in the first place. Now, I have no unique information on any of this. I'm no military strategist, but that is China. And China can project power. They can do it with submarines. They can do it with aircraft carriers. There are 2 of them now. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the United States easily. So why is it that they haven't overtaken Taiwan? The only thing I can think of? Taiwan has some big bombs in its inventory. That's why. And I don't believe that Red China is interested in losing Beijing in trying to acquire Taiwan. What would happen? What would happen if indeed Taiwan decides to push that button? There have been smaller countries with nuclear weapons. Now, there's no confirmation that Taiwan has nuclear weapons, but I can't think of a better reason why China hasn't already invaded them. I just can't. I mean, especially now. If you actually sat down and thought about it, do you believe that Joe Biden would go to war with China, with Red China, over Taiwan? I don't believe so. I'll be perfectly frank. I just don't believe that Joe Biden has the character, the strength, or the fortitude to make that move. And I believe this is a very dangerous time for Taiwan. And I also believe this is a very dangerous time for all of us. Again, I can't figure out what those 400,000 Chinese single military-aged men are doing in this country. Trying to figure out what it is. What are they doing? We're not going to know anything about that until things start to go badly wrong, are we? And remember that 19 people pulled off the 9/11 attacks in 2001. What kind of damage could 400,000 do? That's 800. That's 8,000 people. That's 8,000 possible operatives in every state of the union. They could do a lot of mischief. And of course, we're helping them. I mean, a couple of days ago, an Illinois federal judge decided that illegal immigrants can carry weapons. That it was perfectly okay. So if you are here, if you're a single male, and if you're military age, and you're in the United States, and oh, by the way, you happen to be a member of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, are you going to have any trouble getting weapons? Are you going to have any trouble with the law if you are found with weapons? The answer is no. Well, that was dumb. And once again, who's going to be paying for those policies? Who's going to be toting the freight, paying the freight for all of these wonderful decisions about redemographying America? Who's going to be doing that? It's going to be us. We, the people of the United States. We already saw what it looks like. It would have been an excellent dress rehearsal the summer of 2020, when American cities erupted from one end of the country to the other, more or less at the same time, aided and abetted by the leadership of those very cities. Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just asking questions. Let's assume that these people are here for malintent. Let's say they're malign actors. Do you believe that they have tacit approval from the government of the United States? Obviously, they had tacit approval to come across the border without being challenged by anybody. Specifically. So what are they? Do you believe that the United States government is helping these people out? And if so, why? And for what reason? I mean, so Taiwan is out there. And that might be another reason why China hasn't taken over Taiwan, is because they're after bigger game. Because if they're able to disrupt the United States of America to the point where we're so busy trying to clean up the mess and fighting amongst ourselves, they can walk into Taiwan and probably not even fire a shot. That's what I think these people are thinking. Now, I'm not sure that they're going to follow through on any of this. This is a wonderful theory. You know, it's a valid possibility. But is it real? Well, no, not until troops begin to move, weapons begin to be loaded and locked, and people are awaiting orders and H-hour. But the element of surprise is usually not a surprise, at least at some level. We, the people of the United States, without having to listen to anybody from any politically driven executive branch agency, can read the writing on the wall. This is not hard. What are these people here for? We've seen a dress rehearsal for national unrest. Pretty well coordinated, if you ask me. And the people that were the faces of those demonstrations, those BLM riots, ended up in $1 million Beverly Hills mansions, at least for a time. How did they get that money? Don't know. And of course, the powers that be absolutely had to do something about this after the summer of 2020, after the point was made, after the rehearsals were followed through with. Well, we got to stop these non-sanctioned riotous actors from doing this again. So what we'll do is we'll take everybody that showed up at the Capitol building on January 6th and throw them in jail in solitary confinement for years. Now, once again, I am not the Oracle of Delphi, but I am very much interested in just exactly what's going on here. And I'm wondering what the Chinese, if indeed there were any kind of malintent deals between the Biden family and China, what did they get for their money? Did they buy visas for 400,000 single military age males? What's happening? You're listening to the Wells Report. Our telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Do I have a black helicopter flying around in my pants right now? Or do I have a point? Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
So what goes through your head when you hear the words T. Coronae Borealis? You're going, what? Borealis. You're talking about the Aurora Borealis? What is that? No. That is a star system that is about to go boom. I have information for you, and I'd like you to see it. Check this out as we go to T. Coronae Borealis and what it means for all of us. It will have an effect on us, I tell you.
In our quest to unravel the mysteries of the universe, certain celestial events stand out not just for their sheer spectacle, but for the profound insights they offer into the workings of the cosmos. Among these, the phenomenon of a nova captures the imagination like few others. At the heart of this awe-inspiring event is T. Coronae Borealis, a binary star system located 3,000 light-years away, poised to provide us with a dazzling display of cosmic fireworks. This isn't a mere astral anomaly. It's a window into the life and death of stars, offering clues to the universe's grand design. T. Coronae Borealis, affectionately known as the heartbeat of the cosmos, is more than just a star. It's a binary system where a dance of stellar proportions unfolds. This system comprises a white dwarf and a red giant locked in a gravitational embrace. The white dwarf, a stellar remnant dense and compact, plays a crucial role in this cosmic ballet. It greedily accretes material from its companion, the bloated red giant, a star in the twilight of its life, shedding its outer layers. This process is not just a transfer of mass, it's the fuse that ignites the nova's spectacular blaze. The phenomenon we observe as a nova is the culmination of a delicate cosmic balance being tipped. As the white dwarf accumulates more and more material from the red giant, it reaches a critical threshold. The pressure and temperature at the white dwarf's surface skyrocket, leading to a thermonuclear explosion that ejects the accumulated material into space. This explosion is what lights up the sky, making T. Coroni Borealis visible from Earth as a bright new star, or nova.
Do you know what this means? Neither do I. Actually, I have a little bit of information on this. And you're sitting there going, are you serious? Yeah, I'm serious. Stars are amazing critters. What they do is they are essentially the factories of the universe. We have elements. All of the elements in the physical universe that we know are the same all across the universe. Hydrogen, helium, so on and so on and so on. As you go through the periodic table of elements, each of these elements gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And each of these elements is synthesized in the process of stars, specifically in a nova. When our sun, in 5 billion years or so, runs out of hydrogen, it'll start to react helium. When it stops reacting helium, when it runs out of helium, it'll keep going through the periodic table until it gets to these heavier elements that quite literally will arrive at, say, uranium, which is an unstable material whose atoms will actually interact with each other, tearing each other apart and releasing horrendous amounts of energy. But it's small in what we deal with. It's a small thing relatively, if you can call a 5 megaton thermonuclear blast small. But in comparison to what's going to happen, this thing's going to go up like a massive firework. It's 3,000 light years away. A light year is how long light takes to travel. It's the amount of distance that light going at 186,000 miles per second, how far it goes in a year. That's a big distance, 3,000 light years away, and we're going to be able to see it. It's going to be brighter than Polaris, the North Star. It's going to be bright. It's going to be like somewhere between Polaris and Venus. It's going to be bright. And these things only happen about once every 80 years. So I think that's really, really cool, especially when you back that up with, say, for example, I don't know, on April 8th, when we're going to have a total eclipse that will be visible right here in Texas. So we have the case of a star essentially going out and another 3,000 light years away going out in a blaze of glory. I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I really, truly am. How long will it be in the sky? We don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be that bright. But it's going to be fascinating to see it. Now, this is supposed to happen between now and September. How they're able to figure that out probably has to do with the fact that as the light comes off of the binary star system, you can see this telltale change of these elements being resynthesized as the reaction continues and continues. But aside from that, I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. USA Today boldly misreported the bond payment situation with President Trump. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, there was a very, very interesting turn of events in the Georgia courtroom where Donald Trump and selected others are being charged with RICO violations. I mean, this is going to be, it's going to be amazing to see what happens. As a matter of fact, you know, if I knew Scott McAfee, who's the judge in the Georgia RICO case, I'd pat him on the back because he's pulled off a very smart move. One I will share with you in the next hour of the Wells Report right here. Thanks very much for joining us. Back in just a moment.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. Today is March 21st. I think it's the first day of spring. Nobody's talking about it, but I think that's the case. Spring right around the corner. Oh, good. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. That's opinion. It's not news. I want to make it abundantly clear when I'm discussing opinion versus the news. When I report the news, I'm over here. When I'm doing opinion, I'm over here. Because I want you to know the difference. It's essential. You have opinions too. Share them with me. 817-379-2172. We'll debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. So, we have a diabolical situation going on. It's called lawfare, and it is in several jurisdictions around the United States. And it is clearly something that the framers of this nation sought to insulate our chief executive from by virtue of the fact that they set it up so that the only real legal remedy against a malfunctioning president is impeachment. Impeachment is a political process. As we know, politics poisons everything. But a lot of people say that, my goodness gracious, if the Supreme Court of the United States rules that presidential immunity actually exists, then people will say, my God, the president could do anything he wants to. No, that's not true. Because there is a political analog to the grand jury indictment, trial, and sentencing that we have in every other part of American law. Does it result in jail time? No, it results in removal from office. And what happens after that, no one really knows, because we haven't removed a president from office in any of the history of the United States of America. We've come close. There have been impeachments, all overturned by the United States Senate, which, by the way, is where the trial actually exists. The House, in an impeachment inquiry or an impeachment proceeding, that's a grand jury. They provide an indictment, which are articles of impeachment. They turn those over to the Senate. And in the case of the president, the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court is the presiding judge of that trial. The jury are the senators themselves, and they render a verdict. Now, this has been used as a political football and a political cudgel and so on. But it is obvious, at least to me, Whether it's obvious to the Supreme Court or not, I have no idea. But it is obvious, at least to me, that we have a circumstance here where lawfare is being applied for the first time in history against any president under these circumstances. Lawfare is being applied. And in the case of the New York case against President Donald Trump for what is called fraud, even though nobody that President Trump was doing business with ever complained about any of the deals that they made with the president. Indeed, the President of the United States, while he was a real estate tycoon, was going about the business of real estate. And New York Attorney General Letitia James decided she would bring fraud proceedings against the president because he just made too much money. He made too many great deals. He made too many things that made New York better, and he must be punished for it. In the process of being able to put this case together, the discovery portion of what Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, decided that what she was going to do was open up discovery. And so in that discovery, she was able to determine just exactly what kind of financial background or what kind of financial holdings President Trump has. And it's a bunch of real estate in New York. Now, going along with this is another problem. It's another circumstance where now the United States, all the people doing business in the United States from a real estate point of view, all of these developers now have to justify their holdings when they go after a loan because New York says, my goodness gracious, we just don't agree with the property valuations on the paperwork that Donald Trump presented to banks looking for loans. And they say, my goodness, that evil Trump in a massive show of fraud overvalued his properties. Well, the outcome of that is that suddenly the state of New York is going to determine what real estate prices are in the open market. Therefore, there will be no more development in New York until that's changed. You'd be stupid to. As a part of all of that, this apparent fraud was found to be existent. In other words, Judge Engoron decided that indeed Donald Trump had committed fraud against who? Well, we really don't know. It's not fraud against New York. Would be fraud against all the banks that Donald Trump was doing business with, but here's New York insinuating itself on that process. With all the discovery of the actual financial holdings of Donald Trump, strangely, again, well beyond the Eighth Amendment of the Constitution, was found to be liable for $466 million. It's actually $454 million. But when you get through all the rest of it, it goes to 466, which is probably about the amount of cash on hand that Donald Trump has. In other words, they are going to try to bankrupt the former president of the United States. It makes sense not to pay that money. So what does somebody who's been found liable in civil court do? Well, he goes and purchases a bond, which is usually somewhere around 10% of the overall judgment. In this case, it would be $46.6 million. That's what the bond company would earn. That's a 10% return on money that they will very likely never, ever have to spend. But they will carry the liability of $466 million with Donald Trump's name on it. They will carry that obligation. Bonding companies don't have that kind of cash. They just don't have $500 million lying around somewhere. There are appeals going on. They're trying to reduce it to somewhere around $100 million, which is still outrageous. But when you're dealing with a billionaire, okay, so, maybe the scale of that is unimaginable to me and probably you. But it does follow certain precedents already set. So, New York Attorney General Letitia James has worked it so that Judge Engoron decided that Donald Trump was, through ill-gotten gains, the possessor of some $454 million that he must turn over to New York. And President Trump is working to get a bond, and there's nobody that will give him that bond. Is it because Donald Trump's a lousy credit risk? No. It's because nobody has $500 million lying around to guarantee a bond for $466 million. They just don't have it. Now, that's understandable. I'm pretty sure that was part of the entire strategy or tactics involved in trying to ruin Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure about that. But that is, by the way, an opinion, which I will clearly differentiate between news and opinion. So anyway, it is now at a situation where a 30-day deadline to post that bond or deposit $454 million to block Letitia James from collecting all these other things, all this money. He's either going to have to put up all the money himself, or he's going to have to find a bonding company, and he's running out of time. As a matter of fact, the actual collection process will start on Monday. So, what does this mean? Well, apparently, and I still don't have any idea how this works, but New York Attorney General Letitia James believes that not only can she seize properties in New York, some of the most expensive real estate in the world, but she can also go across state lines and somehow grab properties in Florida like Mar-a-Lago. Really? Really? Anyway, that being said, she's forcing this on President Trump. There's another player in this, and that's the media. The media is trying to make it look like Donald Trump is a lousy credit risk. He is not. They're trying to portray Donald Trump as being not able to cover the actual fine in cash, which is also not true. But that doesn't stop USA Today from misreporting this story. To wit, New York Attorney General Letitia James could swiftly move on former President Donald Trump's bank accounts and real estate if Trump does not put up a $454 million fine, which is actually more like $466, or get a bond for the civil fraud judgment that Letitia James won against him. The 30-day deadline to post the bond or deposit to block James from collecting real estate while he appeals the verdict arrives Monday. Not looking good for the real estate mogul. Trump's lawyer said earlier this week that 30 bonding companies have so far turned him down. The Trump legal team is pleading with a New York appeals court to issue an order that would block James from collecting until after the appeal runs out, which could take years. Jocelyn Nager, a New York lawyer who focuses on debt collection and commercial litigation, told USA Today that James can freeze Trump's bank accounts quickly if she knows where they are by sending a subpoena to the banks or asking a marshal for an immediate levy on the bank. It's not instantaneous, but it's quick. It's a question of how fast the document can be served on the bank. Judge Arthur Engoron concluded Trump had profited with better loan and insurance terms from years of fraudulently inflating values of his assets. It's none of the state of New York's business what Donald Trump values his assets, because the bank will say, "Nah, we don't agree, Mr. Trump," or "Sure, we'll loan you money on those issues." They do their own investigation. $454 million is a combination of the ill-gotten gains and interest. Engoron imposed about $10 million in separate liability against Trump's oldest sons, Eric and Don Jr., and former Trump Organization executive Alan Weisselberg. So the judgment was applied to Trump and certain Trump entities through joint and several liabilities, which means that James could go after Trump for the entire amount or pursue the entities for the money. Engoron said the form of liability is warranted when misconduct by the company and a top controlling officer is indistinguishable. So why am I so exercised about USA Today's reporting? Well, they say that James can collect $454 million if Trump can't pay. That's not the issue. Donald Trump is not insolvent. Donald Trump is not a poor credit risk. Donald Trump is being manipulated, and the media is doing their part to try to cast him in the light of somebody that's been caught in fraud, but he is not guilty of any of that, in my view. That's just my opinion. So, do you think Donald Trump is being victimized here? Is this indeed lawfare? Is this all political? Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Let's see here. In the chat room, which we have on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, what we have here, we have people that are checking in and so on and so on. Let's see. Ann says that President Biden just canceled almost $6 billion in student debt again. I'll check that out for you, Ann, and I'll let you know. Let's see what else. Mugwump. Mugwump is somebody who is not a Trump fan. He says Trump's fraudulent inflation of assets led to reduced borrowing costs for himself and to corresponding reduced revenue for the banks and insurance companies involved. The investors in those banks and insurance companies lost money. That's funny that they would have testified to that, wouldn't they? They would have testified to that in court, wouldn't they? That's not what they did. I'm just confused. Let's see. Okay, and then it gets into somebody, Brad, saying, is Mugwump a bot? No, Mugwump's not a bot. It's not. He's just telling the story as he sees it, which is something that I take USA Today and much of the mainstream media to task for, because what they're trying to do is cast Donald Trump in the light of a fraudster, in the light of somebody who doesn't have the money he says he has, when that's absolutely not the case. If it was the case, we'd have known it by now, because all that is in discovery in this trial in New York. So here's what's going on with regard to more reporting that I find reprehensible. And we go for that to CNN, who looked at it this way.
In panic mode as the deadline approaches to secure this almost $500 million bond for the civil fraud case in New York so that he can appeal it. If he fails to secure the bond, and apparently no insurance company is willing to engage in it for whatever reason, they could put his New York properties, at least some of them, on the chopping block. But check out this fundraising text from the Trump campaign today. It says, quote, from Trump, keep your filthy hands off Trump Tower. And then it provides a fundraising link that they called an emergency memo.
He's the victim. And Jake, what's fascinating is this could actually be one example where he will begin to be held accountable. Like, he's going to have to put up this money. He's known about this for a while. I ultimately think he's the Republican nominee. Some wealthy Republican is going to do something for him.
They haven't yet.
They haven't yet, but
dire
he's the
times.
nominee.
I
You
find
think
it
they
hard
will?
to
You think
believe-
somebody will?
Yes. I don't know if it'll be one person. I mean, it's a lot of money. And even billionaires, I was talking to one of our financial experts today, even billionaires, there's tiers of billionaires, and apparently low-level tiers and high tiers. And we're looking at high tiers, a very small population of people who would have to step forward, and they'd likely have to pool some resources to guarantee this bond. But if your options are, again, your Republican nominee going through all this, having to declare bankruptcy, not being able to pay, having his assets seized and being humiliated, or securing this and guaranteeing the bond so that you have a Republican nominee who eventually, hopefully, will do things for you in the future.
Yeah, well, the thing about that is that, okay, so that's just speculation. What offended me had to do with the fact that Joe Walsh is a former United States House of Representatives member, and he's a former member of the House of Representatives because he's a jerk, in my humble opinion. Anyway, this guy made it abundantly clear to me when he was a very short-lived talk show host, and made it abundantly clear that the guy really is essentially just an agent provocateur. But what bugged me about that was the laughter. It's like they just don't know that what's happening here is this is a grotesque manipulation of law for political purposes. And in their smug way going, yeah, okay, well, that's all fine, and that's all fine and good, but what are they going to do when these same kinds of people start looking at their finances and start seeing whether or not they've been too successful? I mean, a cameraman on the set, for example, makes probably, $50,000, $60,000 a year. Jake Tapper makes millions of dollars a year. Is that fraud? Is that just too much money for Jake Tapper? Is Jake Tapper going to have to deal with that someday? Yeah, unless he decides to stand up and start telling the truth. This is the Wells Report.
nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. While we're on the subject of people going after Donald Trump, thought I would bring you a small, shall we say, I don't know what it's actually called. It's a trailer for a documentary on who? Stormy Daniels. So apparently there was some sort of liaison between Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump. We don't know whether it was actually a physical liaison, but there was something that was important enough to pay Stormy Daniels a lot of money and ask her, and that included her signing a non-disclosure agreement, this before the 2020 election. So there is an NBC network. I know you're sitting there going, NBC is going after Donald Trump. Whatever do you mean? Anyway, there is a network that is putting together, or has put together, a documentary discussing Stormy Daniels and her heartrending tale of bad choice of words, her heartrending story of woe. Here is that trailer.
I am Stormy Daniels, adult film star, mom, idiot who can't keep her mouth shut. I'm a registered Republican. I make the joke I go both ways. When I met Trump, he had told me he never wanted to be president, but then Trump got the Republican nomination, and that's when got real. All I had to do was sign this piece of paper to keep it quiet.
Stormy, did you touch Donald Trump?
There was press in our front yard. They're beating on the door. Our daughter answered it, and someone shoved a camera in her face. What the are you doing? I was terrified.
People showing up, trying to bring guns in, knives in.
You just signed your death warrant. I had just had it. Michael Avenatti, he was the only person even willing to not only help me, but believed me.
He has never thought that women like me mattered. That ends now.
She has become this symbol of the resistance. She didn't necessarily want to become that.
It's not a crusade, and I did not get caught. I am 99% sure that Michael forged my signature. Michael Avenatti betrayed me in every way. You in prison, bitch! Every time I stood up, I got kicked down even harder, and I hit rock bottom.
Just wanted to stand up for myself.
You never saw my name that didn't say porn star in front of it. Because we're not considered human. I won't give up because I'm telling the truth. I'm out of
And of all the networks to put that on, they chose Peacock? Really? So, once again, as we go through this election phase, we now have somebody who agreed to not discuss whatever transpired between Donald Trump and herself. She was given $130,000. She signed a non-disclosure agreement, which by virtue of incessant and what is nonstop maneuvering on the part of a dishonest lawyer who is now in jail and will never practice law in the United States again, we have all this clogging up our thought processes. Okay, it's a circus. And like I've said time and time again on this broadcast, in election years for president, the United States collectively loses its mind. And that's part of it. There was a Wall Street Journal article that talked a little bit about what Donald Trump is claiming. He is claiming this on the campaign trail, and that is that he believes the 2024 election will be rigged. He has long asserted that the 2020 election was rigged as well. He's come up with a slogan, too big to rig. And he's talking about voter turnout from the Republican Party and essentially doing what Democrats did in the 2020 election, which is manipulate the electoral process to be able to count votes that may not necessarily actually exist. Recently, 17,000 and some voters were removed from the North Carolina voter rolls. Okay. And so obviously there was manipulation. When I reported on those stories, I said, do you want to see more of this or less of this? Do you want to see more ledger domain when it comes to our elections or less? This was counterpointed by the fact that nobody ever wants to get down to the actual bottom of it. It's taken years for some of these stories to come to the fore. We reported on one yesterday about a lawyer who was arrested for trying to get to the bottom of it, and indeed was one of the agents responsible for releasing Dominion emails on the subject, Dominion Voting Company, Dominion voting machines. And I asked yesterday, and I'm still trying to get the answer to this, why is anybody upset about that? If Dominion has nothing to worry about, then why are they so upset? Getting back to the Wall Street Journal, this from Mariah Timms. After making years of, and this is, once again, you can hear the bias in the reporting. After making years of unfounded claims the 2020 presidential election was stolen from him, Donald Trump is dialing up warnings. There could be an even bigger theft this time around, a tactic that threatens to complicate Republican turnout efforts. Too big to rig is the phrase that Trump began unveiling in recent weeks, including in an appearance in Greensboro, North Carolina. His campaign has printed signs with the slogan to hand out to supporters. You can see it in the background. Too big to rig. The idea behind this pitch is this: Trump needs a lead so large that no one can take it away. Seems logical. We want a landslide, said Trump at a rally. We have to win so big that it's too big to rig. The line has garnered energetic applause from the Trump faithful. It presents a messaging challenge for Republicans. Even as the former president says the voting process could be rigged, he is urging GOP supporters to participate in it anyway. Indeed, following in the footsteps of the process that led to the defeat in 2020, with Joe Biden garnering more votes for president than any president in history by numbers or percentage. Who knew that Joe Biden was such an amazing political powerhouse? Who knew that Joe Biden could coalesce that much support behind him because he is such a great human being? Okay, whatever. But the case of the matter is that now there's a situation where Donald Trump believes the 2024 election will be rigged as well, and he's taking steps to try to do something about it, up to and including changing the way the RNC does business by installing his daughter-in-law as a co-chairman of the RNC. Okay. And once again, those people who thought that what happened in 2020 was dishonest on the part of Democrats now are saying we have to embrace that dishonesty in order to defeat Democrats in 2024. The question is simple. Do you agree with Donald Trump that the 2024 election is probably at least it could be rigged? Do you believe any of that? 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. So Stephen A. Smith is a sports commentator. He is very, very good. And he has dabbled in politics when American sports reporting was doing that very same thing. Here is what he has to say about this Wall Street Journal article.
I need to address something written in the Wall Street Journal today about former President Donald Trump, the GOP nominee at the moment, by the way. Today, Mariah Timms wrote that while Trump's repeated false claims about how the 2020 election was stolen from him may play well at his rallies, they could pose a real threat to Republican turnout during this year's election. I think that's a valid point. Donald Trump is already on the record. See, this is the problem. This is why, just so y'all know, I support the opponent for Donald Trump, Joe Biden, despite the fact that he's going to be 82 years of age and you got the Dems begging for 4 more years for him. Don't get me started with that. But this is why I believe you cannot support this man. Before a vote has been cast, before election day has arrived, he's telling you, I need you to show out in droves because we got to win by huge numbers because it's rigged. In other words, there's no way on earth he could possibly lose. Never that, never let. Absolutely, without question, I can never lose. That's what he's saying. And as a result of that, you know what that's going to translate into. You know it's going to translate into volatility if he loses. He's going to claim that it was rigged, that ultimately your vote doesn't count, and people are going to be in an uproar. This is my problem. Donald Trump has proven yet again why I think he is dangerous in the worst possible way.
Okay. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. And Stephen A. Smith certainly has the credentials to be able to stand up there as a well-meaning guy. As far as I'm concerned, I disagree with his politics, but still, he's calling it the way he sees it, which is what he does. And whether you agree with it or not, he certainly gets to talk. David Becker is the director of the Nonpartisan Center for Election Innovation and Research. He's focused on election administration. When you still want voters to turn out, but you're telling them that it's rigged, it's no surprise that some of them are on the fence about that. In other words, what they've done, and I, once again, I look at the perversity of this. Donald Trump is saying we've got to have voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout. Too big to rig. And now people are concerned that that's going to harm Republican turnout? Well, we'll see. We will see. But why would asking people to vote harm voter turnout? And that's the strangeness of all of this. It's at least part of it. What exactly is all that? Donald Trump continues to travel the country to huge crowds everywhere he goes. That's been something that's been going on for years. For years. Do you see that with any other politician? Have you ever seen any of that with any other politician? I haven't. The Wall Street Journal article continues. Democrats and other Trump critics have said the former president's continued claims of election theft are grossly irresponsible and doing lasting damage to the U.S. Do you agree? Is Donald Trump hurting the United States of America? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Do you think that Donald Trump is actually hurting the United States of America? I don't know. Doesn't look like it to me. Does it look like it to you? 2 of the 4 criminal cases that Trump is facing involved his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. That includes a federal prosecution in Washington, D.C. He's facing allegations he knowingly spread false claims of widespread election fraud that contributed to the Capitol riot on January 6th. That case has major trouble. It is deteriorating before everyone's eyes. The Supreme Court of the United States will rule on whether or not President Donald Trump had presidential immunity when he made that speech that has been widely cherry-picked, even dishonestly edited for political effect by the mainstream media, casting aspersions on not just their own credibility, but certainly the First Amendment guarantee of freedom of the press. The press does have freedom. Does the press have freedom to practice politics and coercion? The cynical hypocrisy of all of it is that the mainstream media says, my goodness, Donald Trump participated in voter interference, in election interference because of his ties to the Russians. But they don't have any problem whatsoever then, after reporting that story, doing the very same thing, except on a much more local, much more pointed, much more relevant way, by trying to distort the election based on their politics, which are decidedly left. This hypocrisy, this duality, this duplicity is, I think, the most damaging thing about all of this. Donald Trump represents a threat to the established body politic. He does. And they will do anything to stop him from regaining the office of president. And we discussed that yesterday. And some of those remedies are, when you start talking about hurting the United States of America, would be devastating. In the chat room, we have Yvonne saying, look, if Donald Trump wins, then the left is going to decry the fact that the election was stolen. It's true. Absolutely true. If there's a huge landslide in favor of Trump, the left will claim that we rigged the election. Stephen A. Smith says in his little essay, he says there will be volatility if Trump wins. There will also be volatility, apparently, if Biden loses. Of those two concepts, which has been more destructive to the United States? Was it left protesters burning and pillaging and murdering? Or was it Donald Trump, where the January 6th riot turned out to be a place where only one person died? This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. Thanks for being a part of this broadcast. If you think there's any value in this, please share this show and the links to whichever platform you watch with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. Ask them to hit the notification buttons so that you know when we're on the air. We do special broadcasts from time to time, and you might want to know when those are on because they're usually big news events. Also, by all means, give us those thumbs ups. Those are important. Thumbs ups are really nice because it makes it possible for me to see that there's somebody that actually enjoys what we're doing. Also, if you'd like to support the show financially, I can't tell you that how important this is to us because it's important. I'm just saying. Go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. Subscribe there, and you'll have an opportunity to throw us a couple of bucks a month. That's all you need to do. Just a couple of bucks. That's fine. It adds up. And if everybody watching this broadcast right this minute would give us $2 a month, we'd make what, 60, 70 bucks, something like that? Be awesome. Hopefully would be more, but I just wanted to point out that you can support the show financially, even though it makes me queasy. We were just talking about what happened in D.C., and we were talking about a lot of the things having to do with what people who took part in the January 6th riot. If it was a riot, it seemed to me like it was a peaceful protest right up until a government police officer or a government federal law enforcement officer shot Ashley Babbitt in the face. That being said, that's a subject for another day. There is more information on that I'll share with you in the coming days. However, there are people that are in jail because of January 6th in harsh conditions, solitary confinement, held without trial, all manner of violations of due process in these United States. Well, apparently, and I don't know how this worked out, but they got together to sing a very, very important song. And Donald Trump added to that song in a way that I found absolutely beautiful. Let me see if you agree.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And so those prisoners got together and sang that song, augmented by the Pledge of Allegiance by Donald J. Trump. And it was beautiful. So I thought I'd share it with you at the end of this broadcast on this Thursday. It's amazing how people, when, shall we say, oppressed by their governments, still find love of the nation that gave forth those governments to oppress them. That's exactly what these people did. You can download that if you'd like. It's available on YouTube. And I suggest that you do. Just as a reminder, people can do what they choose to try to diminish us. We, the people of the United States. What they can do is make our lives difficult. They can take money, they can take property, but they can't take away that love of country. And that heartens me. How about you? This has been the Wells Report for you TGIF fans. sure happy it's Thursday. Friday tomorrow, and I'm gonna be popping out the fishing shirt for the first day of spring. Shoot, I was gonna find out whether that was true or not. Usually it's March 21st, isn't it? That's first day of spring, right? So hopefully I'm right on that. But I will be wearing a fishing shirt tomorrow, so get your fishing shirt out and join us as we bring you the Wells Report. We do this every day, Monday through Friday from 9 until 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Tell your friends about us. Let's build this show from the inside out. What do you say? Until tomorrow, God bless you. Make good decisions. Be safe. And thanks for watching the Wells Report. All right. Means so much that you guys would join me. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. And support us if you can. That would be really cool, okay?